One peaceful afternoon, Bluey discovered an interesting empty space. Just a few chalks are enough to begin. Every stroke carries imagination. No need to draw beautifully, just draw together. The picture on the ground gradually emerges. The result isn't on paper, but right before our eyes. Each person leaves their own mark. Joy sometimes begins in an empty space. A peaceful afternoon begins with a familiar game. Small puzzle pieces waiting to be placed in their correct positions. A fun competition begins.
3, 2, 1, go!
Not everyone finds the answer immediately. When faced with difficulties, help is always needed. Each person has their own pace. Yippee! When faced with difficulties, help is always needed.
Yeah!
The final result is always worth the effort. In family games, there's no need for winners or losers. When working together, every piece finds its place. Bluey decided to turn their home into a family sports day. The final station required coordination. Bluey tried her hand at the first race. The second station required dexterity. Bingo also wanted to join the challenge. The next station tested quick reflexes. Yahoo! Maintaining balance was a difficult challenge. Whoa! Everyone took turns.
Let's go!
The final station station required coordination.
Yeah!
The final station required coordination. The family sports day brought laughter and positive energy. Behind the house, the small forest became the ideal spot for a camping trip.
Oh!
Bluey found a flat spot to pitch the tent. A clearing was chosen as the campsite. Bluey made use of whatever was available in the forest. The small tent frame gradually took shape. Bingo also wanted to help pitch the tent.
Hey!
Pitching a tent requires a little skill. The small tent began to take shape. Bluey checked to make sure the tent was standing firmly. The small tent was ready. A small campsite was completed.
Oh!
A small tent was enough for a fun adventure. The home cook-off. Mom is calmly cooking. Bluey and Bingo watch closely, eyes sparkling. Dad peeks in wearing an apron, upside down. Dad claps his hands excitedly, points at the counter, gestures, competition. Bluey and Bingo cheer silently, fists in the air. 3 chefs rush to grab ingredients. Bluey grabs everything at once, drops half of it. Bingo carefully selects just a few items. Dad secretly adds something strange, a toy carrot. Mom watches, amused. Dad tastes his dish, winces, adds more of the wrong ingredient. Each dish is placed on the table. Bluey's dish is huge and messy. Bingo's dish is tiny but neat. Dad's dish, slightly smoking. Mom raises an eyebrow. Mom tastes. Bluey's, surprised but impressed. Bingo's, eyes widen with delight. Dad's, long pause. Polite smile. Quick sip of water. Bluey and Bingo giggle. Mom points to all 3 dishes, gives a thumbs up. The family sits together, sharing food. Dad secretly swaps his plate with Bluey's. The simple fishing rod. Quiet. Lakeside/riverside. Dad arrives with a fancy fishing rod, tackle box, and folding chair. Son stands beside him, empty-handed, watching curiously. Dad casts the line confidently. The float sits on the water, perfectly still. Dad waits, checks his watch, sighs softly. The son looks around, finds a tree branch, ties a simple string to it, adds a tiny hook, drops it into the water, just for fun. Dad doesn't notice. The string suddenly tugs hard. The son's eyes widen. He pulls up the branch. A fish! The son freezes for a moment, then grins proudly. Dad turns around, looks at the fish, looks at his expensive fishing rod, looks at the stick. Dad bursts out laughing, shaking his head in disbelief. Dad pats the son's head proudly. They sit side by side, watching the water together. The fish swims calmly in a small bucket. Bluey decided to organize a family picnic. Everything needed was neatly prepared.
Oh. Huh? Mmm.
Bingo was also eager to join the picnic.
Aha!
The picnic spot was chosen.
Whoa! Whoa!
The picnic began to take shape. The fun time made the picnic even more lively.
Yippee!
The whole family enjoyed the outdoors. A simple picnic was enough to bring joy to the whole family. The secret breakfast. Mom is asleep in her bedroom. Dad, sister, and little brother stand outside the kitchen, exchanging a silent shh gesture. Dad fills the kettle with water and turns on the stove. Steam rises. Dad quickly lowers the heat, nervously glancing around. Sister places bread into the toaster. Little brother carries a tray of eggs to the table. One egg rolls. Crack! It falls. He hurriedly picks it up, wipes it clean, and quietly puts it back. The family sets the table together. Plates slightly crooked, tablecloth wrinkled. Toast a little burnt, water poured too full. Dad steps back, looking at everything. He nods proudly. The bedroom door opens. Mom steps out, still sleepy. She freezes. Her eyes move from the messy breakfast to her family standing behind it. Mom covers her mouth, eyes filling with tears. A warm, grateful smile appears. The family sits together at the table. One special morning, the family decided to try something new. Today is device-free day. No screens. Everything suddenly became quiet. At first, it seemed a little boring, but then a small idea appeared. When there are no devices, imagination begins to speak. It doesn't need to be right, just fun. Simple moments become memorable. When there are no distractions, we are closer. Sometimes, disconnecting from screens helps us connect with each other. The simple fishing rod. Quiet. Lakeside/riverside. Dad arrives with a fancy fishing rod, tackle box, and folding chair. Son stands beside him, empty-handed, watching curiously. Dad casts the line confidently. The float sits on the water, perfectly still. Dad waits, checks his watch, sighs softly. The son looks around, finds a tree branch, ties a simple string to it, adds a tiny hook, drops it into the water, just for fun. Dad doesn't notice. The string suddenly tugs hard. The son's eyes widen. He pulls up the branch. A fish! The son freezes for a moment, then grins proudly. Dad turns around, looks at the fish, looks at his expensive fishing rod, looks at the stick. Dad bursts out laughing, shaking his head in disbelief. Dad pats the son's head proudly. They sit side by side, watching the water together. The fish swims calmly in a small bucket.